Triumphant is a big one on the front page of the Standard. This one, despite the dust, despite the use of boats, goons, stones, nini, walifika. So that was, for the people who organized that, which is something shameful. It is a political season. I believe everyone who has any political interest should be allowed to venture into any part of this country. Anywhere. Yeah. So whoever did this, and some of them spoke na wakajulikana, they still failed because these people are triumphant and they made entry, unaona hapo juu ya gari wakidance. The dusty and forceful entry into Homa Bay. Okay, they captured the dust. They need those scattered thunderstorms today. Unstoppable, they say. Hostile attacks by goons wielding crude weapons, barricaded roads and when burning tires disrupted the Linda Mwananchi Brigade's tour of Homa Bay yesterday, as political tensions in the region remained high. Now, for much of the day, the Edwin Sifuna-led team boldly resisted the traps, choosing to navigate through terrain to reach designated rally venues where they addressed hundreds of supporters as violence threatened to overshadow the political tour. Meanwhile, calls for the arrest of Homa Bay MP Peter Kaluma, they even mentioned his name, of alleged inflammatory remarks remained unanswered by the NCIC, DPP and DCI, raising fresh questions over selective enforcement of the law and the government's handling of political violence. I'm not saying, or we are not saying that any other person asishikwe. Tunasema makosa ni makosa. Makosa ni makosa. Kama ule mwingine alifanya makosa akalala, ikabidi alale kwa mezani ya wenyewe hadi asubuhi. Na akalala Kamukunji police station for a second night. Akapelekwa kotini. That is the same treatment for everyone who engages in this kind of incitement. We believe, and as it should be. Is it unfair to expect that of the NCIC or DCI? Anyone mwenye amekuwa captured akisema sijui mutafanya nini sijui, because the threats were, these were threats issued directly to people in Homa Bay that if you do this, we will do this. That's a threat.
We'll deal with you.
And that's against the electoral laws. So that is a crime. And we demand that if at all he said that, he should be arrested.
If at all he said that, he did say that.
Then he should be arrested.
Record.
Yes. So the front page says triumphant and the back page shameful. Hakuna hata sports hapo nyuma. Shameful. The goons that were used. So that's a standard, a very stinging criticism of what happened. Linda Mwananchi breaks through Homa Bay barriers to hold rallies is a big question there. Big story there on page 2. Gachagua accuses Ruto of condoning political goonism. So are we seeing a return of this kind of violence? We had hoped that after the 1-2 arrests that were made, things would cool off. Shame as Gladys Wanga, Kaluma unleashed violence against freedom. That's on page 4. And this was on the road to elections coverage. Animal Farm, they ask leaders decry selective fight on incitement. They've actually done a lot of coverage. Dedicated acres and acres of coverage to this story. Pages 2, 4 and 6. How Ruto blows billions hosting delegations is on page 7. Those are the most interesting stories in as far as politics is concerned. What next? Second-term governors face political gamble ahead of polls is another story. Kiangalia sports ni kama hawana, wamesema ni it's shameful. That's the standard today.
Right. Tuangalie gazeti la Taifa Leo. Sifuna atikisa ngome ya Wanga. Makabiliano makali ya kisiasa yaliyoshuhudiwa Jumapili katika kaunti ya Homa Bay yamefichua vita vinavyozidi kushika kasi vya kutaka kudhibiti ngome ya kisiasa ya marehemu Raila Odinga, huku makundi hasimu yakijiandaa kwa uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka ujao. Vuguvugu la Linda Mwananchi ilikaidi vizuizi vya barabarani, uvamizi na hatimaye kuandaa mikutano Nyandiwa, Sindo na Homa Bay mjini. That is Homa Bay Township, ambapo Peter Kaluma anatoka huko with his inflammatory remarks.
Is MP Homa Bay Town?
Homa Bay Town.
Town kuna tamak.
Town kuna kwanza walise literally
Homa Bay Town there's tarmac. There's tarmac at least up to the end of that road. Unajua ukifika hapo mwisho wa barabara unaona Lake Victoria. Hapo kuna tarmac.
Very shameful.
Kumbe huko nyuma hakuna kitu.
Hakuna kitu, wanaficha white, lakini Linda Mwananchi kasema we are going to show the country what you guys are hiding here.
And you've been an MP forever. Acha mambo yako wewe.
Mwenyekiti wa ODM Gladys Wanga anakabiliwa na kibarua kulinda ngome ya jadi ya Raila Odinga. Kalonzo ataka Omolo ajiuzulu. Kinara wa Wiper asema katibu wa usalama ameshindwa kuzima magenge ya kisiasa. Ni habari katika ukurasa wa 3. Pendekezo wenyeji vyuo vya KMTC watengewe nafasi. Hiyo ni habari nyingine. Barabara za mabilioni vilivyokuza biashara. Anasema kwamba ujenzi wa barabara nchini umechochea uchumi. Kule juu, Joho aponea kesi ya uadilifu, kwamba ni afueni kesi iliyotaka waziri huyo atangazwe kama asiyefaa kushikilia wadhifa wa umma ikitupwa. On the back page, ngao ya Arsenal. Right. Arsenal waliibuka mabingwa wa ngao ya jamii baada ya kuichapa Manchester City 3-0 katika dimba lililosakatwa Millennium.
What happened to Manchester City?
Tuliwasakata. Hiyo ndio that's what happened to them. Tuliwasakata. Hata kama ni ya chai ni yetu.
Watu walikuwa nasema ati ni sahani ya kukula wali.
Bado ni yetu.
Sawa tu. It's silverware either way.
Yeah, Taifa Leo.
Daily Nation, battle for Raila's staff. That's a big story, just like on the front page of Taifa Leo. Defiance, the Linda Mwananchi Brigade led by Senator Sifuna defied goon attacks and road barricades to storm Homa Bay town for the breakaway ODM faction's inaugural rally in the county. Question I'm asking is, have these goons ever stopped anyone? Even in Keumbu, when they tried to stop these people, they still made it to the rally. Yeah. So you wonder, okay, what is the success rate of these goons? Kazi yao, wakienda appraisal, wanaambiwa wamefanya kazi kiasi gani?
Kuna hadi appraisal ya goonism. Failures.
Yes. So it's a zero-sum game because even in Homa Bay, mtu amejiaibisha kidogo, pengine atapelekwa hata kotini. You know, you just embarrass yourself in front of the whole country. We now see you have no roads, and then the rally still happened. Surely, wewe success rate yako ni nini kama mbunge?
And do you think these goons would learn from, other counties where developments, inaendelea?
You see, for the goons, they earned their money for the day.
Ngapi? The question is how much? Labda even it's even 2,000. What will 2,000 do
2,000. Hiyo kitu hata kufikisha 500 ni ngumu sana.
500, what will that do for you in this economy?
And the rally still went on. And the MP and the other leaders embarrassed themselves because now we saw their nakedness. About how beautiful their barabaras huko nyuma zinakaa. Zero-sum games.
Their Yemen looks like.
You see, we should just allow these people to come there, make their noise, leave. Perhaps people would not even be talking about them. They would not be on the front page today.
And they pulled masses.
Anyway, other quick highlights here. Housing levy, defaulters face bank accounts, PIN freezes. So there's a new law giving KRA enforcement powers as authorities crack down on those failing to pay the statutory levy meant to fund the government's affordable housing program. Utakuwa unaenda kufungua account unapata it's frozen. Ukienda PIN, now without your PIN, KRA PIN, you can't access any service on eCitizen. There's so much you can't access. Kwa nini? Sababu ya kosa kulipa statutory housing levy. Looming Nairobi chaos as City Hall staff strike. That's on page 12. So Kanjo anaenda strike, but can they survive? Naona Kanjo akienda strike and the way they make money on city roads. Nimesema tu kweli na mnajua. Atuwakae nyumbani wakose kuenda kazi. Hiyo ni uongo hiyo. Union warned that Nairobi County employees could stop reporting to work if they were not paid by the end of last week. Wiki mpya imeingia, if they're not paid, probably they'll go on strike. All right. Why Kenyan courts are releasing foreign drug traffickers early is a story on page 3. Convicts secure early freedom if found to have undergone rehabilitation and maintained discipline while in prison. Unaenda tu unakuwa disciplined, unaachiliwa. Na ulikuwa unauza madawa ya kulevya. More stories about what happened in Homa Bay, but there's a story here, and this focuses on the other people who suffered. And these are journalists. Outrage over brazen attack on journalists in Homa Bay rally. Yeah, there's a Nation's Odhiambo and AFP's Ooko and Ongoro faced a brutal hostility. Yeah. So why do people attack journalists, by the way? I don't understand. Ni wivu, ni makasiriko, ni nini? Jamaa tu anapiga picha, wewe unakasirika, unasikia. Anyway, Kenya mnanifurahishanga saa nyingine hata kama umelipwa. Yeah. All right. So those are just some of the top stories. Yes, this story about the levy, it's on page 8. Yeah? And they're quoting the Housing and Urban Development Principal Secretary Charles Hinga. Workers, traders, employers who fail to remit the affordable housing levy face same enforcement measures used against tax defaulters. Pin inakuwa frozen. Alafu unasema, there's a very beautiful story on page 10 about the roads that cost Kenya billions. You can look and see if at all one of your roads is there and how much it costs. On the back page, the big one. Gunners make big statement with Community Shield big win over a small city. Citizens showed only flashes of the attacking threat in Premiership season's curtain raiser. Another cup. This one is not a cup. This is a shield. It's a trophy nonetheless. Arsenal maintained a 100% win record over Manchester City with an emphatic performance at Principality Stadium where Calafiori, Havertz, Odegaard scored 3-0 to Arsenal. Congratulations to the Gunners. That's a Daily Nation. All right, there's a story you've left out still on the front page, and it's on page 2. Teachers protest TSC social media gag. The teachers, wants employer to distinguish between legitimate use and online misconduct that warrants punishment. Right. You saw that story? Yes. Now you understand how important this is. That's about the girl who was looking at the president's son and saying... well, they didn't really mention her. But, yeah. No, she was a girl who's a teacher. Yeah. Alienda social media akasema, huyu kijana wa rais anakaa anaweza. Shida iko wapi? So, hakuna shida hapo wewe. The Teacher Service Commission has been urged to clarify its directive on teachers' use of social media to ensure it does not unfairly target those with a visible online presence. Yeah, so NAT wanataka TSC clarify. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't want us to use social media? So these teachers who are active, especially on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, and some of them give advice. Some of them talk about life, but they're teachers. Some of them talk about their students and how their lives are as teachers. Now TSC is not comfortable with that. Some are also looking for love. As they should. Yeah. You know, teachers, kitambo ni kio, I don't know if they still are, kio cha jamii. So whatever you do on social media. Teachers used to marry teachers. Sana kama wanaambiwa hivyo, nyinyi mkienda kwingine mnaonekana na watu wengine, rudini. Wewe ndio uoe colleague. But anyway, that's a serious story. Teacher Service Commission needs to clarify on. All right. Let's take a look at the People Daily now. 2027, the violent rehearsal. It's on page 4. How Kenya's campaigns are exposing the violence, intimidation, and political muscle that could shape the next general election. All right, People and Politics, that's the main story on the front page. On the top strip, brother against brother. Inside the resurgence of the country's political intolerance. Brother against brother. By the way, this is what was happening in Homa Bay. Because they're just fighting their own. I've seen a tweet here, allow me just to go through it, by Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, senior counsel. And he says, the Goonism we saw in Homa Bay can only mean one thing. It is time for a radical change to the political leadership in the Internal Security Ministry. I think the time for PS Dr. Raymond Omolo, who comes from Homa Bay, and CS Murkomen needs serious reflection and new strategy as we approach 2027. He tweeted this about 30 minutes ago, and I agree with him. Because Murkomen, the CS, and this PS know, and they even give an assurance. The PS actually gave an assurance that nothing like that would happen. Then it happened in broad daylight and days, anyway. Over to you, Dr. Raymond Omolo. Over to you. All right, there's a story here, still on the People Daily app with you on the top strip. I think I've lost it, but it's quite interesting. Here it is. Why Ruto could become a lame duck president. That is a story on page 8, and that's the People Daily. All right. From the People Daily, we take a look at the Star. Fresh, independent, different. But this time they're not so different. At least they show what happened in Homa Bay. Say attempts by suspected goons to disrupt rally thwarted, and they use an image there of the Linda Mwananchi team interacting with the residents of Homa Bay yesterday. And they say, we made it. Linda Mwananchi, led by Senator Sifuna and Embakasi East MP Babu Wino in Nyandewa, Homa Bay County yesterday. But the main story is not that. It's about cheap spirits boom inside Kenya's fake alcohol business. There's a foreigner who went on social media akasema, the quality of alcohol in Kenya, ukienda Kenya usikunywe pombe. But I've seen some other people coming to Kenya to sample. locally produced alcohol. It is indeed true that's a big problem. Many people who enjoy the tipple get poisoned. Some of them even die because of some cheap spirits that are not supposed to be for human consumption. So it's a 203 billion shilling shadow market. It's threatening lives, taxes, and legit business. This is covered extensively on pages 4 and 5. And they have a breakdown of the total illicit market value in 2024. That market is 203 billion shillings. Annual government revenue loss, 120 billion. So it means if the government was to crack down on this, they would earn 120 billion. Yeah? So it's value for the government to actually crack down on this. I do not know why government appears reluctant, especially, you know, even that going to a provincial administration. Chiefs, DOs, DCs, they know where, county commandants, they know where these things happen.
Yeah. The dens.
Yeah, but they don't, some of them are actually big industries and manufacture very lethal spirits.
Maybe they're benefiting from that.
Yes.
Okay, na pale wanapewa kitu kidogo and then wana.
Annual alcohol-related fatalities, 14,000 plus. Illicit share of total alcohol volume. It means that there's more illicit alcohol in Kenya at 60% than legit alcohol. Kwa hivyo watu ukiringa hapo ati unakunywa expensive liquor, pole sana. Yako ni bure kabisa. So those are two main stories. Front page, naona hapa kuna jamaa amepata jiko. Wajir court keeps abandoned child with foster mom. That's a nice interesting story on page 2 about adoption and child abandonment. Yes. And on the back page, Matter Sports, local sports. Pamzo's big dream, this is APS Bomet. Coach Omolo keen to land Sport Pesa League title in 3 years. Tunangoja the league ianze pia hapa nyumbani. Those are the main stories on the Star as well. Fresh, independent, different. You can grab yourself a copy of the Star today for 60 bob.
Very quickly, Business Daily, the Competition Authority of Kenya's 15 billion shillings demand blocks DKO's EABL stale. Watchdog wants reserve to settle EABL liabilities, and Brewer accuses regulator of assuming court powers. That story is on page 2. Housing levy defaulters face spin and bank account freezes. We've talked about that, and that's the Business Daily. Right,
from the Business Daily, we go straight to Uganda, and we start off with the Daily Monitor. The main story on the Daily Monitor, 20 years of waiting for oil. Since 2006 to this year, for 2 decades, Uganda has watched, waited, and wondered. From seismic work across the Albertine Graben to contracts signed, delayed, and signed again, oil has been the promise just over the horizon. With pipeline taking shape and fast oil in sight, the country that has lived in the idea of oil is preparing to live on the oil itself. Then they're lucky they waited for 20 years. You know, in Kenya we had the tallow oil. Hata sisi tunangoja tu. And then there's a gentleman here, Alex Mukulu. I think he's a big guy huko. He's a maestro. Alex Mukulu has died at the age of 72. That's the main story there. Teacher transfer, government tightens rules. That's the story on the New Vision. And President Yoweri Museveni with his grandchild who qualified, alienda ile Sandhurst Military School in UK. In Tanzania, The Citizen. Fuel farms battle as market shares shift. Matters of oil on the front page. And on the Mwananchi, gazeti la Mwananchi, habari kuu ni jinamizi la upigaji biashara ya simu. I think this is online business. Haya ndio machungu wanayokutana nayo wanunuzi, siri bidhaa za zamani kufungashwa kwenye maboksi mapya na kuuzwa. Kamanda Muliro atoa onyo Dar. I'm sure you've seen this even in Kenya. Online, when you buy things online. Inakuja tu ukifungua hiyo box, we uchungu. Aha. Na machungu kusubiri huduma ya afya kwa miaka 10 kule Singida, ni hospitali ambayo bado wanaendelea kuyunda. Hayo masuala habari zilizopewa kipaumbele kule Bongo, kwingineko Uganda na hata Kenya tumeangazia magazeti, lakini sasa turejelee nyumbani tuangazie karakacha. Tunaanza na the cartoon on the inside pages of the Star, and it has a president, a caricature of the current president with a lot of money on a wheelbarrow. Yeah, and a picture of his predecessor with a lot of money in a briefcase. But now the current one says, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Nasema hiyo pesa yako unatumia sana kwa siasa. Ni kama yeye atumii. Lakini hiyo ni siasa yao. That's a Star.
All right. People Daily Star no stake. Right. There's a caricature here of the Treasury CS akiwa ndani ya ile chupa ambayo alisema the economy is doing wonderfully because you guys are apparently drinking a lot of soda. So he's inside
soda economy.
A bottle of soda. Yeah. Bottle up economy, and the opposition leader